So that says live stream, but is it being recorded or not?
It will be in a second. I'm just going to
all right.
finalize the live stream on our end.
Yeah, so don't start swearing, Suzanne.
All right, Madam Chair, you may begin the meeting.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jane Potter, and as chair of the La Jolla Shores Plan District Advisory Board, I'm calling this meeting to order. We are a volunteer advisory board appointed by the mayor, and our duty is to review all applications for permits for residential development within the La Jolla Shores Plan District, and then to submit our written recommendations within 30 days to the city. So I'm going to do a quick roll call to confirm board member attendance and that we have a quorum. With board member Suzanne Weissman.
Here.
Board member Andrea Moser. Board member Bert Lazarow.
Here.
Board member Kathleen Neal.
Here.
And our newest board member, Phil Wise.
Here.
Phil, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. And we're happy to have you. He was appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council a couple of months ago, but he hasn't had a chance to attend a meeting because we haven't had the last two because lack of projects. So welcome. And joining us today from the City of San Diego Planning Department is Senior Planner Marlon Pangilinan. So before we get into today's agenda, I'm going to call on Marlon to run down some of our guidelines for today's meeting. Marlon?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Marlon Pangilinan, Senior Planner with the Planning Department. I would like to take this time to inform the board members and the meeting attendees about the meeting functions on the Zoom application that we are using to hold our online virtual meeting. Please note the buttons on your Zoom control bar appear at the bottom of your screen. On the menu, starting on your left, is your microphone icon button, which allows you to mute and unmute your audio. Please remember to stay muted when you are not talking and to unmute yourself when you do speak. The next button to the right of the microphone is your video camera icon. You may choose to activate it or not. You will also notice that the chat window button, which looks like a dialogue call out, activates the chat function. Please keep your chat window, which will appear to the right of your screen, open at all times, as you will be using the chat function to signal when you'd like to speak. For members of the public wishing to speak during non-agenda public comment or to provide public comment on an agenda item, Zoom includes a raise hand or clapping hands feature. Simply click on the reactions button on the Zoom menu and click on the raise hand feature or select clap hands feature, and either the chair or I will recognize you to speak for a limited time determined by the chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marlon. Excuse me, let's go to the approval of the agenda for today.
Madam Chair, I do have a change to the agenda.
I'm sorry, what?
I have a last minute change to the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I'd just like to mention that action item A, PRJ 106-9261-8215, Prestwick Drive is being withdrawn at this time until the applicant can clarify the action requested for their project. Apparently they are under the 10% threshold requirements, and just verifying and clarifying with DSD staff.
Excuse me, Marlon, I have a question. Even though I agree they're under the 10%, it is a second story addition and it does face the street. Does that also impact whether it has to come to us?
Per the bulletin, I forgot the number, it's escaping my my mind right now. The trigger is the 10%. So the second story, I need to probably look at that and see whether or not that also is a trigger. But from my understanding, it's the 10% that DSD usually flags and sends them to us.
Understood. Would you also take a look at the fact that the drawings that they presented, even though we're not discussing it, they show maybe that it's hard to tell whether the side setback where they're placing the second story, what that dimension is. And if it's anywhere near 4 feet or under 4 feet, it then would be in violation of the PDO. So that becomes kind of critical because it does look like it's really close there.
Okay,
Thank you.
we can definitely have those details cleared up with the applicant, gets their clarification from development services, and if they come before this group again.
Much appreciated. And it may not be relevant. It's just almost impossible to tell. I went over the drawings 4 or 5 times and I looked at other sources and it was difficult.
Okay, understood.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen. Then we will move to approve the amended agenda. If
I would move to approve the agenda, but I want to comment on the previous discussion at
okay.
an appropriate time.
Sure. Oh, comment now or comment?
Yeah,
Comment now.
I see absolutely nothing in Information Bulletin 621 that says that the only criteria is 10%. In paragraph 2, it says city staff will use the following criteria to assist in determining whether or not an addition is minor in scope. And I think Kathleen is absolutely correct that if any of these criteria are not met, the project should come to us for our opinion.
To clarify, the trigger for us to look at the criteria is the 10%. So that's usually the initial trigger that gets them sent to us to look at the criteria and evaluate the project based on those.
Well, then I think the staff needs to revise Information Bulletin 621.
We'll get some clarification on that one.
They said they were going to do that.
Yeah.
That's the response to our code update request.
That's true.
Yeah,
Absolutely
they were
true.
looking at ID 621 now, whether or not.
Right.
So but we said that's probably a pretty low priority.
So
Some good questions.
yeah, I guess I'm trying to decide what a good way to be would to get that message back. Do we have to do something formally, or Marlon, what's your suggestion? I mean,
So the
the
advisory board can move forward with adopting the agenda, and then we will definitely follow up on the code changes in regards to the bulletin criteria.
okay, does that satisfy Bert? And yeah, okay. Thank you for bringing up both Kathleen and Bert. Thank you.
This is Kathleen. Could I add one more thing, Jane?
Of course.
Marlon, could I ask that you report back to us? I realize this is a burden, but it would be clarifying if we could know how the city looks at properties such as this Prestwick one.
Certainly, yeah, that's not a burden at all.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So that'll be on, well, what, next month's agenda then, or, okay. Yeah, I definitely would like some follow-up on and a report. It would be the best thing. Okay. All right. Sorry. Now, may I have a motion to approve the revised agenda?
I
Jane,
so
there was
moved.
just one typo where the item B, it says the project and it's Avenida de la Playa, and then underneath it says Del La Playa.
Oh,
And I just realized that this is one of the
Oh.
items that keeps going. Like if you want to go back years and years and years, so we might as well correct that.
I have noticed that too. So, okay, thank you with that.
Small
correction.
thing, but
No, okay. Do we have a motion then? Otherwise? would
I
that-
so move.
Okay.
Weissman.
Okay,
Second.
I'll
Who's gonna-
second that. And, all right. Now let's go to approval of the minutes. hopefully everyone received my latest email with a different page one and understands it and thinks that's okay. And then page two, I didn't wade into, so I was requesting everybody do that on their own. So are there any comments on the comments for either pages one or page two? I was fine with all the additions, the corrections for page two. And this is my,
Move to approve as modified.
Neil, second.
okay, thank you. And thanks for everybody's work on this. And let's go on to our agenda then. Thank you.
But Madam Chair, may I say something?
Yes.
On the minutes, I know there's a lot of work involved in those. And I just wanted to make clear that I do have my markup. If at any time that's the assistant to Marlon, I'd be happy to give him a clean copy, just to try to help out. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. I guess that's one reason I redid page one. But I just couldn't, so thank you. We're fortunate. Having been on this committee for so long, and a couple of you have, or at least Sue, you remember when we never had anybody doing minutes ever. That was not part of wherever the staff person was. They never did any minutes. And we don't have to, because we're the only people who don't have to do our own minutes. So I am grateful to have Marlon's the one who started doing minutes when he started with us a while ago, when he had fewer responsibilities than he does now. Anyway, thank you, Kathleen. And I will do the same. So, okay, so we're going to go to action item B, which is Avenida de la Playa. And now okay, sorry, who's doing the, is this, Hallie? No, Hallie's
And
not.
it's Brian. We got Brian.
I can present that.
Okay, good. Welcome.
Thank you. Should I get started?
Yes, please.
Okay, Marlon, can I share my screen?
And just
Looks
so-
like I am
like
sharing my screen. Do you all see that?
Not yet.
No,
Now
Now we do.
yes,
Wonderful.
So before you begin, let me just, I'm sure everybody knows this, but this applicant is seeking a recommendation that the proposed project is minor in scope. And you've all read we'll hear in great detail what the proposed project is now. Thank you.
And
Thank you very
just,
much.
we saw this as an information item, did we not, in
You
April?
did.
Yes. I
Yes.
recognized art thing. And I went and
Yes.
looked up when you saw it, because Bert
You
had
saw it in April or May. I think it might have been your May meeting.
It was April. I checked the
April.
agenda.
Okay, thank you. We've made some very minor changes, but I just thought I'd orient you. This is the subject property and this is the location where, in fact, that's the little art studio right there that we're going to demolish and build a guest quarters right back here. So let me escape out of that and share our plans. What I showed you last, what Hallie showed you last time were the plans and these renderings. I think the renderings are the easiest place to show you the differences. We have removed the trellis off of the left side of this structure over here. And we have filled in this. It's not a recessed area at the front door. The wall goes straight across now. So those are the two changes since you last saw it. The project is, go back to the current plans. The project is with that filling in that area. It's increased to 749 square feet, which is 15% increase in floor area. And the full construction set here. Here it is located on the site. The dashed line is the small art studio that's being demolished. The rear setback is just over 10 feet at its tightest point and just over 13-foot side setback at its tightest point. And here the floor plan, you can see we've removed the trellis off of this area, but we've added a little entry trellis, and it's no longer a recessed front door. There used to be walls there, and the door was back here. We wanted double doors into the bedroom area. So those are the only two changes we've made since you saw it in April. If you have any questions, anything else I could show you?
This is Neil. Could I ask a question?
Yes.
So, Brian, thank you for the presentation. I think it's, as we said before, it's really well located on the lot to not appear to have an impact on any structures in adjacent properties. So I can't recall if we discussed this, but had the neighbors been notified that this was happening, in particular the one at 2327 Vallecillos? Thank you.
I don't believe they have been notified. Does this group, is there any I don't think so. No, we didn't do any kind of notification package like we would with a discretionary action.
Oh, no, not a formal one. I was wondering if any contact had been made, just
not by my staff or the applicant. So I would assume none whatsoever.
Thank you.
I would find it easy to approve this as a minor project if I knew that the neighbor behind you had received notice and an opportunity to comment on this. As I understand it, with a minor project, nobody gets notice. And I think even though you're decreasing the setback, that the closest neighbor to the construction ought to have notice.
I know it's not a requirement, but I have that strong feeling as well, Brian, that it's a courtesy because you'll have construction going on there and it's awfully nice to let your neighbors know.
Sure, and I can commit to letting them know. I'd love it if this board was willing to make a determination that this is minor. I can show you some site photos. As you see, now I'm hiding my screen, but all these retaining walls here, these little white lines, they are increasing the height across the property line so that this basketball court, which is the closest thing to our work area, is elevated by 7 or 8 feet, and then the fence that sits across it with vegetation growing on it. So I don't think they could even see this if they tried, but they would certainly hear some construction going on during the construction phase. But each one of these white walls is a step up in elevation to the elevation of their court.
Andrea or Sue, would you care to comment? Or Phil?
It just looks like the these aren't really living areas that are directly adjacent to the project. So aside from the amount of time it takes to construct it, I don't see a real issue, and I believe that if Brian agrees to notify people that he will do that. I do have a question. You are calling it a guest quarters, so it is not an ADU.
That is correct.
Okay. Because I think in terms of if it was an ADU, we might have to look at it a slightly different way. Just because we're supposed to be incentivizing those structures rather than discouraging them. So at this point in time, I would be inclined to go ahead and recommend that it be considered minor with the acknowledgement that the neighbors will be notified.
Is that a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I
So-
move that we recommend the project as a minor project with the acknowledgement by the presenter that the neighbors will be notified.
And
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
That's Phil. I'll second it.
Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, let's vote. And all those, I'll start. Phil, I'm gonna start with you. I
Yes.
or
Approve.
okay. The rest, well, okay. Andrea,
Yes.
you made the motion. Sue,
Yes,
you're in it, and Bert
Yes,
and Kathleen.
Yes, in favor. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and looks like a good project, and thank you, Brian. So we
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
give you a unanimous support.
I'll report back to Marlon when I've notified the neighbors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna go on to information item A. And as most of us know, this is an information item, which means we do not actually give a recommendation. We are just asked to give input. And this is another one where they're asking on whether the proposed concept could be minor in scope. And whom do we have? Hillary Lowe? Is she here? Is that who it is?
Hello.
Oh,
Hi, I'm Hillary.
Hi,
Can you
Hillary.
see and hear me?
Yes, we can. So you
Hi.
can start your presentation anytime.
Okay, let me bring that up. Sorry, I had a little glitch in my service just as it was coming time to start
Of
presenting.
course.
So I'm hoping that doesn't continue. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, so I'm presenting, yes, the project as an information item. We do just want to get a early preliminary recommendation on whether or not this might be considered a minor addition. It is over 10%, but it is single story and it maintains all the existing setbacks on the site and doesn't increase the height of the structure. The property is located at 7988 Roseland Drive. It's to the east of the Beach and Tennis Club. We have a large Beach and Tennis Club parking lot on the west side of the lot and a residential lot on the east side and also on the northeast side. Here's a closer up view of it. The proposed addition, if you can see my cursor, it's in the front yard here, and it's on the southeast side of the house. So here's some photos of the front of the building. The east side of the house is a single story, and on the west side, there are 2 stories. So to access those from the entrance level, which is on the east, you go up 1 level to the bedrooms or down a level to the garage and lower level. Our addition is proposed in the front here, and it would be a bedroom and bathroom addition with some pantry space for the kitchen. And then on the backyard side, there is a small, let me go to the site plan, a small addition to the kitchen here of 35 square feet. The gray infilled area are the addition areas, and then this area here is currently a covered entry that would become interior space. So we included that in our addition floor area. And then there's an addition to the deck in the backyard also. So the goal of the project is to design a modest addition to the existing house that will make the house functional for the owner as she ages. She plans to retire to this home and would like to have a bedroom on the living level of the house with the kitchen and living room so that as many stairs aren't required. We have tried to do it to be in harmony with the bulk and scale of the existing house and keep the cottage feel. She wants to maintain that, and also in harmony with the surrounding neighborhood. These are some views of the front elevation, the existing south elevation of the house, which faces the street, which you just saw in the photos. And this is it's a 3D elevation with the addition shown, and the new roof line. Just to go back to the site plan, you can see that we have a larger front setback than the existing house, and then the side setback on the east side will maintain the same 13-foot setback. And then we have some more detailed elevations of the 4 sides of the house. Again, this is the existing 2-story portion, and then this is the addition to the front that's single story. On the other side of the house, we have the small kitchen addition here, just infilling this corner and extending the deck over. And then this is all existing house here. And then this is the east elevation. So this would be facing the neighbor. You can see the roof line is not increased. I don't think they currently have any view windows in this area of their house, but it would not additionally block their view towards the ocean. We haven't spoken to them yet about the project. We're just in the early stages, and we haven't, submitted to the city or anything yet. So we just wanted to get a reading from you on how we should proceed with the permitting on the project. These are our demo plans. I added the demo calculation. We are keeping over. Sorry, somebody at the door. Just a minute.
Everybody's a critic.
Yeah. And then I know you don't review floor plans, but this just shows the floor plan, the proposed floor plan of where the addition would be. and the new roof plan. So yeah, let me know, do you have any questions or anything I should review in more detail, and just your take on whether or not it could be a minor addition.
Board members?
Oh,
questions?
Madam Chair, if I may make a statement. So we haven't received any written comment on this proposal, or nor do we have anybody in attendance at this meeting wishing to provide any public comment. And just for the record too, for the previous action item, you guys concluded just a minute ago, we didn't have any written or written public comment on that item as well. So just wanted to read that into the record as well.
Thank you, Marlon. I just realized when she started her presentation that I had completely skipped over non-agenda public comment and asking. So thank you. Okay.
So Jane,
Yeah.
and again, I know this doesn't have to be part of the presentation, but the general condition of the property would lead me to judge that any improvement would be a positive, because it is not in good shape. And this seems to me to be a fairly conservative. They're certainly not trying to maximize the property, the lot, or anything like that. I would say that this could be considered a minor, because it's not really going to impact anybody on any of the sides, and they're going into the front, which again, that street, I don't know that I had ever even been on that street until I went to look at the property. And when I looked it up on Google to begin with, I was like, where is this? Because I could see the parking lot. So I'd say that they're doing something pretty conservative with a lot that is, you know, compared to other lots in the neighborhood, not the most desirable location. But I also think this represents a true improvement as to what the property looks like right now. So that's my take.
Who else has comments?
Neil, could I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Thank you. So it's very odd on the ZAP portal for the city on this lot. It shows that it's not just a single family designation, but it also shows it as a private recreational facility, as if it's an amalgamation. I wonder if you could clarify on that, Ms. Lowe. Are you familiar with what the zoning is for that lot?
I believe that is because it is adjacent to that zone, and often when you search that on the city, the ZAP website, it will list those zones additionally. And then when we investigate further, it turns out that it is just in one zone, and unless it actually crosses over. But I didn't see that zone crossed over our property. It seems to be the adjacent zone.
Great, that's kind of what it looked like to me, but I don't have nearly the background that you do. So the other question I have is the adjacent property at 7982 Roseland. I couldn't tell from the drawings if you were proposing one door and two windows on the side that faces them, or if there's just one door and one window. I realize the door is probably the kitchen door.
Yeah, there is an existing door out of the kitchen that is roughly in the same location. And she'd like to maintain that door to get out to the side patio. Then we are actually closing off the kitchen window that looks out in that direction. And there's a new window here in the pantry it's kind of the laundry pantry sink.
Great. So I realize there's a slight slope. I believe it is a downward slope between those two lots. And I realize there's mature vegetation there. I know you said you're maintaining the 13-foot side setback, and that's terrific. Will you be able to, I don't know if the vegetation is yours, but will you be able to preserve the existing vegetation? Because I believe it does provide quite a screening element for both property owners.
That is our intent. Let's see if I can zoom in here.
Do you know if that landscaping is yours or the adjacent neighbors?
I believe it's on our side of the property line, because we have 13 feet on this side. So yeah, a lot of this is on our property.
Great. So I realize we have no requirement for that and we have no requirement for formal notification, but certainly that adjacent property owner, I'm sure it would be a much better interaction when you begin developing, if you could let them know that you intend to remain, with the vegetation as a screening device and just as a courtesy. But otherwise, I think it looks good. And I agree with Andrea's approach that it is a good change from a design point of view that the bulk is being added to the road side of the house in this case. So assuming you might be able to do those things for us, I would be supportive of a minor designation. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from board?
So, yeah, I'm very familiar. This happens to be a very busy location because it's located directly across from the ocean access that's next to the Marine Room restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets very busy. It gets lots of people parking there. And so I thought I saw on the plans that they were going to do similar to the neighbor next door to this 82 property, a wall and a fence to sort of give some privacy to that front yard. Or is it just
yeah, so there is an existing wall here. The owner is interested in adding open fencing above, just to give some privacy in her front yard. She has mentioned incidents of, people going to the beach that are changing right outside her front door.
Yeah.
Towel changing into wetsuits and swimsuits. And so either vegetation or a open fencing with some vegetation on it is something we're discussing.
Something similar. Maybe I saw like the one next door has done that to a considerable extent. Anyway, I don't know. That's not part of the plan right now though, huh?
It's not in our plans right now. Depending on what we're, if we're submitting for the coastal permit, well, we need to, or not coastal permit, we would be exempt from coastal, but the site development permit, we're just trying to figure out how to proceed right now.
Right. So I agree that it's a minor and that it would be an improvement.
Yeah, there are some drainage issues here, and you can see on this parking next to the parking lot to the west. This isn't in front of our property, but this is all unlandscaped and no sidewalk, and the water comes down this road and actually it currently goes into our garage on this property.
Oh,
so they have
right. I noticed those little wooden boards.
Yeah, well, that's for getting cars in and out because it's a steep driveway, but they do have to put sandbags up. So while we're doing the addition, we're going to address some of the drainage issues with a drain at the bottom of the driveway to mitigate the water intrusion. Right now it comes right down the street and all flows right down the driveway into the garage. So
Gosh. Bert or Phil, do you have any comments before we?
Phil, familiar also with this.
Yeah, Phil lives right down the street just like you.
Yeah, I have a lot of empathy for the homeowner because I see the surfers or the first riders changing all over the place. And especially with the new swimsuits that are being worn, it's a little strange. But no, the house definitely needs improvement. And so this looks like it's going to be an excellent job in, helping this person.
Great.
Looks fine.
Bert, do you have any comments?
I've got some questions.
Okay.
And I agree with the previous speakers that this is a very strange street for that area of La Jolla. It's almost like a country lane And when I was there, because of the parking, it was a little hard to get through. My recollection is that this lot sits at a low point compared to its across the street neighbor and its next door neighbor. And Ms. Lowe, I wonder if you can tell me how far below those two lots your client's lot is.
Let's see. So, I mean, the street is sloping down in this direction. I'm not sure about the difference between our first level and their first level, but looks to be 3 or 4 feet. And then on this lot, it slopes down towards the northwest. And this is the significant grade difference here. And it's about 4.5 feet down from the upper level. And then there's some additional steps inside that go to the back bedroom off of the backyard. So it goes down a couple more feet.
And what is the relative height of the lot across the street?
That I'm not sure. I would have to look into that.
And
They do have a large hedge around that property. Can kind of see it here. I think when you park on the street, you park next to a pretty tall hedge that hides everything on that property.
yeah, I couldn't see the lot, the house on that lot. And I assume that the people in that house have basically turned their back on Roseland Drive. I agree that that this would be a nice addition. The question that you want our opinion on, however, is whether it qualifies as a minor addition. And the size is too big. It's visible from the street, and it increases the height of that part of the building, even though it doesn't increase the maximum height of the facility. So I'm not so sure about classifying it as a minor project. But as I understand it, and maybe Marlon can clarify this, the difference between a minor project and a major project is that with a major project, you have to notify the neighbors within 300 feet. Well, it seems obvious that there are no neighbors within 300 feet on one side. Whereas with a minor project, you don't really have to notify anybody. Are there other differences between a major and a minor project, Marlon?
Yeah, so a major project is discretionary, and so it would also have to go before the La Jolla Shores, not La Jolla Shores, I'm sorry, the La Jolla Community Planning Association, which is the local community planning group for a recommendation. And then it would be approved by the hearing officer, so that recommendation would go to inform that decision.
And it would have to come to us.
Yes, and it would come back, I'm sorry, yeah, and it would also
community
come back to
planning.
the La Jolla Shores Advisory.
Two La
Board
Jolla
for-
Shores groups, which is a problem.
But I presume it's coming back to us anyway, since we can't determine, since it's informational.
Yeah,
Right,
we
that's
would
correct.
come back for a
If it
vote
does
whether-
end up being a major.
terms
Well, it
of,
would be, these houses here would have to probably be notified right around here. And I don't know, across the street is the beach and tennis club, but then there's a house. I can't tell from this picture what it looks like. Anyway, there is that first house next to the beach and next to the marine room. between the walkway. Yeah, it would be considerably, it increases the cost and all a lot.
And I'd like to say that agreeing with a couple of the other people who said this is a vast improvement. It's also a very small house. It's still going to be a very small house, even with this addition. And I have no problems with it being a minor project. And as we always recommend, please, the neighbors need to be informed, whether they don't even look at Roseland or not, but just the two, and that's it. And so I would definitely not want to put this into a major project with all the money and the whatever, all that involved. So that's my input. So.
Well, I would like to comment that I agree with Bert on many subjects. In this particular one, though, I sort of feel like the fact that there's a 13-foot side setback on this property to the impacted neighbor, because frankly, the other neighbors I don't believe will be as impacted in any respect. And that 13-foot side setback in these little lots it's really an important differential. It means that you're not sitting right adjacent to someone else's structure. So I agree with Bert. There's a question about it in its size, but I think this is why, Marlon, we're concerned when properties like Prestwick don't come to us, where they are packed actually cheek jowl to an adjacent property. And this one, where maybe because it is greater than 10%, it technically should be considered a major project. Really, the impact to the neighbors is probably not going to be as significant. So I still really strongly feel that that the contact should be made, especially to the adjacent neighbor at 7982. But I am still leaning, even after all the conversation, I'm leaning more towards it being minor rather than major. Thank you.
Well, and again, and we've seen this before, when a small house adds anything, the percentage of it just doesn't ever work out to their favor as far as minor or major or any of that. So we're not giving a recommendation technically, but I think unless anybody else has any other input, I think you've heard all our views then, Hillary.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, that is the case that we're dealing with a small existing floor plan. And so it's a relatively small addition to the front of the house. And I think it would be an improvement, as you said, but we're over 10%.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. There's no, and as Marlon said, there's no public comment for this either. So thank you, Hillary, and good luck.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you when we come back for a formal recommendation on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, stop.
Okay. Our next, if that's it, I do want to make one clarification before I even announce the next meeting or an adjournment. Just for the record, Phil Wise abstained, as he's a voting member, but he couldn't vote on the minutes. He abstained on the minutes. So just so that's in the record of the next minutes. Right, Phil?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
We do speak.
Okay. The next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, October 19th. And I believe we're adjourned, if everyone agrees to that. Thank you very much for all your efforts. And we're happy to have such a So many people on the board.
Robust size, yes.
And- Okay, thank you. We're
Thank you.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Marlon.
Bye.
Thanks, Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not gonna let me leave, Marlon?
Oh.